5 minutes.
It's now closed.
Okay, welcome back. Round 2. Hopefully we're getting people warmed up and we're going to have evaluators jumping out of their seats after Katie's speech. But first, let's hear from Katie. So our next speaker is Katie McCabe. And Katie's speech is called Fear Setting. And her intro is, do you have a life-changing goal that you're considering, but something is holding you back? Could it be fear? In her Presentation Mastery Level 1 evaluation and feedback speech, Katie will give us a 3-part strategy to follow our dreams and eliminate fear. Katie McCabe, fear setting. Please welcome Katie.
Picture it, San Diego, early 2000s. Life is going great. You have a good job, great friends, you're doing fitness boot camps, you own a condo, rolling along. And then something goes wrong in your brain with one of your blood vessels, and you descend into horrible pain, disorientation, constant nausea. You think it's going to end, but it just continues all day, every day, for months. What would you do? Well, that's what happened to me when I was 32. And I was freaking out. I couldn't even imagine having to quit my job, start working on things like Ayurveda, which I did do, and leaving everything behind. I was a responsible person with a mortgage and a job, but I had to do something. Luckily, I had a tool in my toolbox called fear setting, and it helped me figure out what to do and move forward with a plan. Fear setting is a term coined by Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour Work Week, and it's based on principles from Stoic philosophy. You can use fear setting for goals like buying a house, or quitting your job to go around the world, or to deal with your health problems. Maybe to be a stand-up comic for the first time, or to travel around the world. So what is fear setting? It's kind of like goal setting, but when you set a goal, here's your goal, and you outline the steps to get there. With fear setting, you have a goal, and you outline all the fears that are holding you back. There are 3 steps to fear setting. Let's start with the first one. It's to write down all the fears that you have for that goal. And I mean all of them, because if you leave some behind that don't seem that important, they'll be hanging out in your brain, just pulling you back from reaching your goal. So let's do an example for the first one of writing down our fears. And I want to do a juicy one. So let's say your fear is to ask out that very attractive person at the gym. So I want you guys to help me. If you wanted to ask out your crush, what are a few fears that might come up? Rejection. Anyone else? Disappointment.
Embarrassment.
Yeah.
Public vomiting.
Did you say vomiting? This is vomiting. But say maybe you would make the person uncomfortable. Okay, so you would do this and just keep going and going. Every fear you can think of. That's step 1. Even that is really helpful. Step 2 is to take a look at those fears and come up with mitigating or preventative tasks that you could do to work on them. So what's something, if you were feeling rejection, what's something that you could say like, all right, this is what I'm going to do to not worry about that so much?
Oh, there are other fish in the sea.
Okay, other fish in the sea. Maybe for embarrassment, you can pick a different time to go to the gym in case you never want to see the person again. How about if you are worried about making that person uncomfortable?
You can only do it if you warm them up first.
Warm them up a bit, maybe just invite them to a happy hour with some friends. Okay, so first step is writing down your fears. The second step is to look for some mitigation or preventative options. The third step is actually the most important, but it's the one that often gets overlooked. The third step is we all know when we're looking there at the costs or risks of going for your goal. But what about the costs and risks of not going for your goal? So let's say you were too afraid to take action. You could be missing out on meeting the love of your life. You could miss out on some of the people or experiences that this person could introduce you to. You could not get a chance to do something that scares you and work on your courage. So that's a key part, is to look at the costs of not taking action. Now, I use this in a little bit of a different situation. It wasn't exactly a goal for me to quit my job, but it was something I was very terrified to do. So I went through the steps. I was feeling so sick, but I wanted to leave my job. Well, what if I went bankrupt because I lost all my money because I didn't have a job? What if I had to move away and all my friends forgot about me? It's possible. What if I never got a job again? So I wrote down all of my fears. Then I went to step 2. Well, in terms of going bankrupt, I could move in with my parents, save some money, and rent out my place. In terms of my friends, create a text group so we could all stay in touch. In terms of not ever getting another job again, I could, practice my skills, even if it had to be in audio because my head hurt so much I had to close my eyes. This really helped me to figure out what to do, to come up with a plan that scared me, and frankly, where a lot of my fears did come true, but I had already thought through them. I was able to take some time off, do a bunch of things to fix my health, not fix it, but alleviate it, and I even was able to travel the world before I went back to work. So it all turned out okay. But I don't think I ever would have taken that step. Oh, sorry. This is one thing you could talk about in my evaluation. I forgot. The third most important step that I did. I looked at what would happen if I didn't take any action. If I didn't take any action, I might get fired and never get any references again. I might be driving to work while I was disoriented and hurt someone. Or I might just stay in this state of utter chaos where I was trying to have all these balls in the air and was so sick at the time. And I knew that wasn't something I could sustain. So the process really helped me to figure out what I needed to do. And I've used it since then to help me meet my goals. So I want to ask you, what's a goal that you've been considering that fear has been holding you back? And I want to challenge you, wake up tomorrow morning, grab a piece of paper, and fearlessly start fear setting. Mr. Professor?
Thank you, Katie. Another fantastic speech. Good that you hear, good when we hear speeches that are well structured, because they're hard to evaluate. If they were really easy, and we brought somebody up that just kind of stumbled through, or we would all have the same feedback and it wouldn't be the same effectiveness. So that's why we specifically chose seasoned speakers tonight at different levels, but that we knew were going to give killer speeches, because it's hard. So, same exercise as before. Let's cover the basics. What do we think about, yes, Kathy, let's start.
Well, maybe outside of the basics, when the easel kind of crumbled, she picked up seamlessly.
Yes.
Like, just a seamless, didn't get frazzled over it.
Yeah. Good recovery, right? Didn't let it disrupt her flow.
Very good.
Steve.
So I have a question about props, like, cause I'm assuming she planned for the easel to be part of
Yeah.
her speech. But now, when you're using props, what is a good point on the stage to leverage the props? So like, for example, she's writing stuff, which in my head, I should be able to see no matter where I'm sitting in the audience, if she's using that as a prop.
Yes. It's a great question, and it's a really hard thing to do. It falls a little bit outside the evaluation, but we can move it into the evaluation by saying, what would be the ideal place to put it? So maybe at the beginning, she should ask the Toastmaster to move it to the middle, but a little bit behind so that everybody can see it from the middle, and then she still has the use of the stage on either side. That could be a great evaluation point. There's no great answer, including even projections with computers, because half the time you're standing in front of the thing, it's blinding you, and you're blocking the light, and there's not really good answers except come early, find your spot as the speaker, and check the room, right? Some rooms have poles in the middle of them, and visual blockades, and all kinds of stuff. So it's a really good question, and that's why you should always get to your speech early, and maybe that would be the suggestion is, I actually had trouble from this side of the room, Katie, seeing your visual presentation. If you had brought it to the middle, I think that could have made a big difference. But I thought you used it effectively regardless, right? Something like that. What else?
I thought that the structure was really strong because it was based on the 3 points and the 3 questions. And I thought that was just a really simple but good way to lay everything out, and it kind of threaded through. And then a strong point was when she went through each of the points and did the motions with to really nail it home. So I thought that was great.
Liked it? Yeah. What else?
I really liked how she gave us the definition of fear setting, but then went beyond that and gave us examples of how we could use it in everyday life.
Yes, I like the definition. I like that the reference to Tim Ferriss, too, the fact that you kind of know where it comes from, so you don't have to wait for the speaker after and say, hey, how did you learn about that? Or you can just Google Tim Ferriss fear setting and you would get all the information. So, Brian, you have one.
Yeah, I thought she did an excellent job of not relying on the easel as a crutch. So she went over, she engaged the easel, she wrote all her answers out, and then she moved all the way back over, actually past where you are, to sort of let everyone absorb the easel and then her again. I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I think like stage presence was really good use. Like the use of the staging and hand gestures, like here pulling you down, and those are really good. I think vocal variety though during those things could have been like a little bit louder or stuff like that.
Agreed. Katie's great at projecting, but I think that there could be some throughout the speech. It was a positive, or maybe an intro, or maybe the exit for the evaluator is, this is a super vulnerable speech. She makes it very matter of fact because it's her life and she's obviously recovered now and had this, miraculous life since. But she just shared with us something really powerful, which is my life basically stopped and rebooted at age 32, and I had to kind of figure out this path. I think that lends itself to a positive of like, thanks for being vulnerable, but I want to almost hear you emote more of bring it, it's okay to bring it down a notch and be like, I'm going to tell you something really real. Especially when you have this intro, it's like San Diego, early 2000s, and then boom, time to change vocal variety. Like things got real, right? So it's great feedback. What else? Yes.
I was gonna mention that, so I'll add to this comment. I wanted to hear more of the personal story. I think that we could have gotten sucked in even more.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible story. So.
Yeah, and you get a taste of it when she's running through the fears, and it starts to get really real, and then it almost you want more of it. What happened? How did you get out of it? Right. So you could almost make the speech deeper, but it would probably take more time.
I
liked how she said the 3, came and worked you through the exercise, and then wrapped it up with her 3. So it was sort of like a trifecta.
Yeah.
It was like 3, then 3, then 3. And so you sort of worked through it, and you saw how she worked through it. And you're like, oh, okay, I can see how you can do it.
Steph?
This is something that I need to not do also, but saying sorry.
Yes.
Even though you said you were trying to say that even though you were saying like just for the sake of evaluating, that was what you were pausing to do. I think if it could have felt like you had done that on purpose, because I think what happened was you started going into like the resolution of your story, and you could have just like stopped short and said, what really set me, towards the path to recovery or bouncing back, whatever you wanted to use, was that often forgotten third point of blah blah blah. And nobody would have known that it was a oops on your part.
It's a great point of feedback, and it's just a good note as a speaker to go into the preview of the speaking workshop someday to come, is if you flub it, don't call the audience's attention to it. Even if you're in a workshop, she did a good job of kind of making it humorous of like, oh, you can evaluate me on this in a minute. But don't even call it out, because I literally didn't even notice until it was called out. And then I thought, oh, it just disrupted the speech by doing that. And as an evaluator, I would have brought that up I wrote it down. Never call attention to your own flaws, because 99% of the audience doesn't know. Any other feedback?
You used the word so
There you
a
go.
lot.
Yeah.
And that, I would just say, be conscious of it.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Filler.
If there's a repeated filler word for a seasoned speaker, you can call it out for sure. So we have some good feedback up here. One thing that I noticed in the last round of demonstrations, we had 2 different evaluators. Keith's given multiple evaluations. Chris gave his first one. They had slightly different structure. One used the tell them what you're going to tell them. Chris did. Keith didn't. They're both effective. So that's what I was saying at the beginning. You can include it or you can leave it out. It's a nice way to set yourself up, though, especially as a newer evaluator, to say, I'm setting the table for the audience, and I've also just set it for myself in my mind as to what I'm about to lay out, which is a pro, 2 to 3 suggestions, a pro. Who wants to give it a shot? Brave volunteers? Yes, Diane, come on.
Hi, Katie. You look beautiful this evening. I think I told you this in an email, but she has this like wonderful way about her that's very like light and calm, and you do a really good job of that on the stage as well. Today, in your evaluation, I want to tell you some things that you did really well, and then I'll also tell you a few things that you might want to work on. So I love that you were very vulnerable with your story, and it connected with me because I've had some similar issues with stomach stuff. So I definitely connected with you, and it was great how you used the stage and had the 1, 2, 3, and you painted a really, really good picture of like what you were going through at the time, and then the tools that you already had inside of you to be able to help you during this difficult time. So that was amazing. Again, use of stage was great. Your gestures are always really good. Vocal variety is one thing. I would say that you do a really good job, but you could almost take it to the next level. The part that I really loved was when you were over here and you were like, I got something juicy for you. I really love that. Eye contact was also really good. And then as far as what you could work on, you called this out yourself, but not calling out your mistake in front of everybody, like we mentioned that it's just kind of be able to go to like the next thing, because none of us know what you're going to talk about. So, and then in some cases you use a couple filler words, but
ultimately, I didn't really notice that. It wasn't something that I would have said originally. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing your personal story with us and just being vulnerable on stage. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll start with the exit. Great exit. Right? Didn't just kind of give a rote exit, thank you very much, but it was thank you for being vulnerable because we were right there with you. And when you call that kind of thing out, the last thing anybody remembers is the last thing that you said. That's all that anybody ever remembers. So if you have a great exit to your eval, you leave the audience with a lasting impression. What were some of the things that Diane did that followed structure, didn't follow structure? Anybody notice a couple things?
Just the back and forth with the P's and the S's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you did some bouncing around there. I almost stopped you, but I was like, no, she's gonna come back to the S's. So just be careful. I think that's the discomfort coming in of like, oh, but you really did great with this. You're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. You should really stick to your 5 points and try to hit the big ones. So if vocal variety was something that you noticed, hit that as your suggestion, and then that one lends itself. When you said she could go bigger, how? Like, show us how. Like, go out. Like, was it when she said, you said, "Damn," and your life ended, but I wanted you to pull a Robert Perry and be like, boom! Life was over, right? It's like you want to. So was it something like that? Like whatever it is, you can demonstrate that and make it stick. And then you give the audience a pause and then go to your next one. And you will find that you won't fill in as much. You'll let it breathe a little bit. Who's got another one in there? Come on, who's coming up? Yes! Oh, come on up.
All right. Katie, thank you for this amazing speech. I think we all connected to it because we could all use this method in our lives. Your speech was perfect, nearly perfect, so it's difficult to point out to negative parts, but I'm gonna go over a couple of the positive points, and then I'll point out to a couple of areas where you could maybe improve. The first one was that you really had a great speech structure. You hooked us at the beginning, you took us through your personal story, and then you defined what fear setting is, and then took us back to your personal story, so we could see how you use that method. You were using the stage pretty well. You were going back and forth. We could all see you. You were having great eye contact. On the areas of improvement, I think you could maybe use less of the filler words. You used them a few times. Also, as it was pointed before, when you made that mistake or you forgot the last part, the same way that you recovered with the easel, you could maybe just fix it without saying sorry. Other than that, thank you for such an amazing speech and for challenging us to use it in our lives and get up in the morning and go over it. Thank you.
Just a note, we've had 2 speakers that got beat up tonight, which is amazing that they volunteered, and we've had 4 evaluators stand up here and give essentially impromptu evaluations, so thank you to everybody that It's a nerve-wracking thing to just evaluate in the first place, but to do it off the cuff as almost a table topic is very difficult. And you generally get an idea of what it feels like to be in a contest at that point, because it's really hard in a contest. A couple minor notes. when you are evaluating, I put them up here. Use the I versus you. I didn't hear very much you. I don't think I heard any of that tonight. Everybody used I, which is, I found this. It makes it about you and not you did this and you did that, and it's about I, because it is your opinion of what somebody else is doing. And in terms of the suggestions for improvement, I suggest, my reaction was a couple words to avoid that I heard tonight. One was negative and one was critique. Yes, you are critiquing and you are pointing out the negatives, but you can flip the vocabulary around by using things like, I have some improvements, I have some suggestions, ways that you might sharpen up your speech, ways that you might enhance your speech. You could go on and on and on with different words, but try to avoid the things that have negative connotations, not because we can't absorb it, most people have thick skin, but mostly because the human brain actually kind of pulls back and turns off of like, oh my God, you're about to critique me. And it's, no, I'm just gonna give you some enhancements to your speech. Yeah, Kat.
I have a question on that. There have been times when I would say, I'd like to challenge you to, would that be inappropriate? I would love to see this.
Yeah.
And challenge yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's okay to challenge somebody to suggest a change to the entire structure of the speech. You didn't have a call to action at the end. You needed something to have a better conclusion. I would challenge you the next time to have a call to action, which is ironically a call to action to a call to action. But yes, I think the more straightforward the feedback and the more honest the feedback, the more the speaker's gonna get out of it. We spend an hour and a half here every week. We wanna learn, we wanna get better, and you're doing your fellow Toastmasters injustice if you gloss over the evaluation. So hopefully this structure, which is on here, you can take it home with you, it's on your agenda, helps you potentially get over your fear of giving an evaluation, or maybe you're in a rut with evaluations and you just need another way to structure it. The biggest challenge to you is getting rid of all those notes and all that clutter in your head and coming up here with 5 things. If you do that, I guarantee you will be nervous as heck, and I guarantee you'll have a killer evaluation because you won't wander at all and your speaker will get great feedback. So with that, I thank you for your attention tonight. I'm going to turn the meeting back to our Toastmaster, Sheila, and hope you got something out of it.
Thank you, Gary. He did. He jumped up immediately when I asked him, and I knew that he was the person I wanted to ask, and it was fantastic. He's like, absolutely. So I thank you for that. It was very helpful. I got a ton out of it, and I hope everybody else did too. That is going to end our meeting. I think we forgot the joke master, and I know Diane was dying to tell a joke. So Diane, why don't you come up and get some
Man, I thought I was home free then. Okay, so I'm not going to tell a joke because I'm what you call a literal thinker. So I'm going to tell you just a funny personal story. So my mom was a gym teacher growing up, and she retired about 15 years ago. And my husband was like, hey, well, this was right after she retired. My husband was like, hey, how's your mom doing? And I was like, oh, she's doing great. She's loving retirement. And she's subbing. And he's like, for Jim? And I said, no, for Paul. So I'll explain a little bit, because some of you might not get it, like I probably wouldn't have, because I'm very literal. When my husband tells this story, he tells it way better because it's about me. But the funny thing is I always get hung up on it because I'm like, but my mom used to work with a guy named Jim, and that's why I said it was Paul. So I'm always trying to like defend myself.
So that's it for our meeting. We're going to call up Malenko, the deciding officer, to close it out for us. With any other remarks? Okay, we do have a closing inspiration tonight, I believe. Felipe, are you?
Yes.
All right.
I assume that you know about Mr. Andrew Carnegie. Okay, he was a millionaire. He was a successful industrialist at the end of the 18th century. Okay. He was the richest man in the world at the time. And one day he was asked, "What is the secret of your success?" And his answer was, "The secret of my success is that I was able to surround myself with people that are more intelligent than I am." And you ponder about that, and you say, you know, he's right. Because most people try to shy away from someone who they believe are smarter than they are. And then if you don't surround yourself with intelligent people, you're never going to learn. You're going to remain the same. You're going to be a mediocre person. And that's why I like Toastmasters. Because in here, everybody wants to improve and wants to better themselves. And I learn from you. I learn from Gary. Donna's not here. I learn from Donna. It's a positive thing to belong to a Toastmaster, especially this club, because I've visited many clubs and this is the best club that I have found. Okay. If every time I come here and I get one of this when I speak, I'm in the wrong club. Because I'm not learning. Groucho Marx, the comedian, said it very simply. I would not want to belong to a club that would have me as a member. Thank you.
Before I invite our guest up, I did want to thank Gary and Sheila. We've had many workshops. This one was phenomenal. I personally feel like not just only at Toastmasters I can use this, but I use it at work a lot when I have to give feedback to my team members and then also my husband and my kids. Do the sandwich method, that's how they're going to accept it. But I would like to invite our guest up quickly to tell us, I know it's your third time, you still got to come up here. So please tell us what you thought about the meeting.
Great meeting. Learned quite a lot about evaluation. I know I don't come up here a lot because I'm quite shy. I know I told everyone I wanted to do stand-up comedy, but that's exactly because I am so afraid of doing it. And I thought a lot today, why do I not want to stand up here? And I thought, well, because people stand in front of groups are usually shot in a firing squad, these kind of things. Because usually if you stand out, you're vulnerable, right? There's the guy, get him, kind of thing. So I thought, well, maybe that's not always the case. Maybe I can be up here and still be a part of everyone else, and not so much be singled out. So, great meeting.
The things that really impressed me were, again, the speeches were all excellent. Learning about the structure of evaluations and how to do that effectively. It also taught me a little bit more about speaking in general, and all that was fantastic. So I really enjoyed learning about all of that. I enjoyed how positive all the feedback is from everybody, so thank you for that.
Thank you for coming back. If you're interested in joining, we would love to have you. You can see Diane. And we're like on time, and everyone can thank Brian because he is Toastmaster next
evaluation spots open. Other than that, a lot are filled, so please support Brian as his first time as Toastmaster.
Yes,
And with
please.
that,
Sign up.
yes, the meeting is done and everyone will go to Kenya.
Yay.